Hello and welcome back to Podium Pop. My name is Celine and that is my co-host Grace. And we are going to go ahead and get started on our Australian Grand Prix recap. As always, make sure you're following us on all social media. We are on TikTok, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. And we post a new episode every Monday on Spotify and on YouTube. We also do sporadically post other episodes, so make sure, again, you're following us to keep up to date with any of those as well. Like I said, we're going to do a race recap of the Australian Grand Prix, as well as touch briefly on the F2 race and the IndyCar race, as well as, keep up to date with all of the drama that happened up to the race today. It was at 1 a.m. for us. It's hard to keep track. So let's go ahead and pop the cork and get into our Australian Grand Prix race recap.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Should we talk about a bit before the race?
Oh, yeah. Let's get into it because
a lot happened.
I have a lot of thoughts.
I've never felt more rage in my entire life.
I woke up Friday morning seeing red.
Mm-hmm. I broke the news to you.
You broke the news to me, and I felt so frustrated by it. My poor coworker doesn't know a thing about Formula One, and he had to sit there and listen to me go on a whole spiel about this whole process. He was very polite about it, but he agreed. It was pretty fucked up.
And we are, of course, talking about this whole situation at Williams. I'm sure you all have heard.
Oh my god.
Alex crashed in free practice 1. He's okay, thankfully. That's the most important thing here. And they couldn't get his car fixed for free practice 2. Logan doing great in free practice. Okay, he was finishing, I think he finished free practice 1, P12, and then free practice 2, P14. Like, that's good for Williams, and that's good for my man Logan. And they said,
he kept it out of the wall.
He kept it out of the wall. And, the team was like, James was like, hey, actually, I'm going to be honest, Logan, your car, perfectly fine. Your teammate crashed. We're going to give him your car, actually.
And also this stems from, so like, everyone knows you bring a third car. You bring a backup.
Yes.
Well, Williams were just like, you know what? We don't really have time to make one. We don't really have the funds. We're just not going to bring a third car. And that's what caused this whole thing.
It's the third race of the season, and they don't have an extra chassis. I always say that word wrong. For their team? That's insane. Yeah.
It's just really frustrating because and obviously, at the end of the day, I don't get it, but I get it. Why they made the decision, because Alex is a more consistently he's more consistent. He's I don't want to say better driver, but he is a better driver. Like,
more
when you look at the stats, more experienced. Yeah. He had more points. But the end of the day is James Vowles literally in multiple interviews before the season started was like, I don't care about the points of, I don't care about the standings of 2022, 2023, 2024. I care about building a good foundation and a good team foundation in order to make us successful in like 2025, 2026, so on.
Yeah. The
decision that he made basically just goes against whatever he just said, because he's instead promoting like a pretty hostile work environment between the two drivers. Like, I'm sure Logan doesn't blame Alex. No one should blame Alex.
No
one
should.
Except Alex shouldn't have crashed, but like, they shouldn't blame him for taking the car.
Yeah.
That was a purely like managerial decision. But it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. It makes me so sad for Logan, and everyone knows that, like, again, this was his one chance, like, to prove and say, like, you know what? I know Alex is out, but this, I can perform, and I can show you, I can bring in the points when we're down to the wire. Let me handle this. Let me take care of the team. I can do this. And they're like, you know what? We're not even going to give you a chance. Sorry.
It's so frustrating.
Like, why sign him? Why sign him for another year if they don't trust that he can be successful?
And James was like, I still have the utmost confidence in Logan. It's so contradicting. Like,
It's so contradicting. And
I
it's pretty. I didn't like how they approached it either, because
me either.
it felt like we saw nothing of Logan for the rest of the weekend, and I don't know if that was William's choice, or I don't know if it was his own choice. Maybe he was like, you know what, I'm not showing my face around there. But
they like posted a picture of him on Twitter and were like supporting from the garage and did like the fist bump emoji. And then everybody was like, what else is he supposed to do? You took away his fucking car.
It's just like, and the statements that were put out were so
heartbreaking.
PR. They were just they were so like, well, Logan is being such a good team player. Like, what is he supposed to do?
Literally, what is he supposed to do?
If he doesn't, well, first of all, he doesn't have a choice. Second of all, if he went to the media and was kicking up a fuss about it, well, he definitely wouldn't have a seat for the next year. Like, what is he supposed to do other than be like, I guess so, sure, take my car.
Yeah.
No problem.
When Alex is going to be fine and have a seat next year, but when every race counts for Logan and you're going to take one away from him, that is just so upsetting and frustrating. Like, I can't even imagine what he's been feeling this weekend.
And also, what is that going to do to, like, his, like, mental, like, health in the future races? Like, he's going to constantly be, like, on edge, being like, well, like, I know the team doesn't believe in me. I know that James doesn't believe in me. And also, like, he's like, well, if Alex crashes and we don't have a third car, are they gonna take my car again? Like, it's so, like,
it's not fair.
It's not fair. It's so frustrating. And like you said, it is. He has such a limited time to prove that he can perform, and if they take away a chance to where he can prove what he's doing, like, there's no way he'll be successful. It's just heartbreaking, and everyone's saying, like, you got to think about it strategically, and it's a business, and blah 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 blah. I get it. But that is, again, contradicting exactly what James said at the beginning of the season about wanting to build a good foundation and not caring about the points and all of this. Like,
yeah.
And you know what? We'll talk more about the standings for the Formula One race, but karma definitely came to them.
They didn't even get a point.
And a lot of the teams that they're fighting got points. Haas got double points this weekend.
They couldn't pass a Haas. It's not your drivers. It's your car.
Yeah.
Like, the car is ass.
It's ass. It's just really unfortunate. I just feel so, like, and I mean,
Logan
there's so much more.
could have done the exact same thing. There was no need to do this.
No, for sure.
When the car is not that good enough to be scoring points right now, there was no need to take him out.
Yeah. And I mean, we could get into it even more. Like, it's even more heartbreaking because he's the only American on the grid. He talks about, he feels so unwelcome already. And, you know, with the whole grid and you know, I'm sure with his team a little bit, but like to just feel like even more of like an outsider, and like also it's just embarrassing as hell for him. Like,
for the
that
team
is
as a whole.
So embarrassing. So another thing, so Max did an interview and they basically asked him about the situation.
Yeah.
And Max is basically like, I get why they did the decision. He goes, but if I was Logan, if they did that to me, I would flatten the car so nobody else could drive it. Like, Max is so real for that. And that's like the difference is like, I would love, Max is obviously like far enough in his career and he is who he is, so he can say stuff like that. I'm sure that's exactly what Logan was thinking. Like, I should have flattened the car so no one could have it. But he can't say stuff like that because he doesn't have a secure seat for next year, and it's already not looking good for him to have a seat next year. And again, like, I get it. I get why, but it's just
like, at the end of the day, we get it, yeah.
It's just still sad. I literally cried about it multiple times, actually.
It's okay. We have to let our emotions run freely.
Yeah. It's just, it was a little heartbreaking, and I just felt so bad for him. And I think even the brief times that we did see him, like, doing media and all that stuff, he was a good sport. He was very, like, very, you know, he seemed in good spirits despite everything, but like the statements where he was like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my career. It was like,
Qatar 2023 is sitting right there, and this is the hardest point of his career. Like, this sucks.
That sucks. It
Like,
sucks.
oh my gosh.
Sucks so bad.
And reports have been coming out that Williams is questioning if they can even fix Alex's car before Japan, which is 2 weeks away. So they're just so behind.
So yeah, like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what are they doing?
I don't, like, I'm so confused. I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense.
They won't take Logan's car another weekend, right? Like, what if they don't get Alex's car fixed before then?
I really want to say they won't. And a part of me, I know this doesn't determine it. Just the fan reaction, and not even Logan fans, but like people who were like, I don't even like the guy, but this is so fucked up. Or like, I've never paid attention to his, like, I pay attention to my drivers only, but like, what? This is wrong.
Yeah, I think so too, actually. That's what I was thinking. Like, it was such a bad PR move for Williams.
Their poor marketing team.
For them to not even get, like, it would be different if, like, they gave Alex Logan's car, Alex got a couple of points, 1 point even.
It would be so different.
For them to basically take this risk and make this horrible PR move and make pretty much the whole, like, majority of the F1 community, like, turn against them. Like, me and you were furious, and we are big Williams supporters.
Yeah,
we love Williams, we love Logan, we love James, we love Alex, we love Williams. Yeah. And I still was like, I am appalled with this decision that was made. And so it wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it.
And
like, no reward from this.
No reward. All bad things came from this. And so I really would think that they would be like, okay, we're not going to do that again. But they've made the stupid decision once, you know? Might as well just keep making that same stupid decision. People already are not liking them because of it.
Be so upset.
Yeah, I really don't know what I would do, actually.
I just hope they can fix the car in time. And
to take away 2 opportunities,
I don't think
for Logan.
I feel like there's also like more, I don't, like, technical and like not legality, but like technical side of things. I don't think they can. I'm just really hoping they won't, and I'm hoping they just get it fixed. That's
yeah.
We'll just
we're gonna manifest it. Yeah, for sure.
Their car will get fixed.
Yes. Moving on to the next piece of news leading up to the Grand Prix, which is quite frankly disgusting. So somebody, which is leading up to this, it was really funny because this happened, the news broke, at least our time, Saturday during the day. And the race was at like 1 a.m. So I woke up super early. I was like, I gotta take a nap. Like, I have to take a nap before, we watch the race tonight. So I was like, oh, fine, I'll take a nap. I woke up from the nap. I FaceTimed Grace, and I was jokingly just be like, so did I miss anything? Anything happened?
Yeah, she was actually did.
Yeah, actually you did miss this. So I'll let you kind of explain what initially happened.
So 2, I guess, influencers, I believe they're brothers. I looked at their page for 1 second. Were at the Grand Prix and were sent to the Grand Prix by, they were basically sent there to do promotions. I forget from which company. And they were in the bathroom, I guess in the paddock, and George Russell was also in the bathroom. And they thought, hey, this is a great idea. One brother, let me go pee next to George Russell. The other brother, let me film it from behind. And then they filmed it, made a TikTok, and then proceeded to talk about using the restroom next to George Russell. And I didn't listen to it because I was so disgusted I couldn't, so I don't know what detail they went into. But that is so disgusting and violating.
It really,
why do you think that's a good idea?
I don't understand what goes through people's brains. Like, this is normal. Like, a huge problem. I hope that they press charges. Like, that's repulsive to me, and I hate the fact that George Russell has to even like deal with that and go through that. Like that's so like
just like another
violating.
thing I have to think about. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to the bathroom. I could be filmed.
It's horrible. And I mean, I'm sure that they probably were removed from Formula One campus pretty quickly after that. I would hope so.
Yeah.
But it's really disgusting, and I hate that happened to him. And he had a pretty shitty weekend all around. Poor buddy.
Also,
which we'll talk more about, but
the drivers already don't have much privacy at these races or in their lives.
Yeah. I mean, they are filmed from like the moment they step onto that onto that campus. They are filmed and photographed and watched.
Yeah.
The whole time. It's so unfortunate, but
so violating.
Mm-hmm.
So don't do that. Be normal.
Yeah, be normal. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a freaking pervert.
Literally.
And just respect people's privacy. Yeah. Touching on that a little bit too, we gotta chill. Like, the fans gotta chill.
The fans gotta chill.
Do not go to these drivers' hotels
and wait
outside and stalk them and follow them and be a normal human. These people they're real people. Like, they are genuinely real people. Imagine if every time you stepped out of your house, people were there waiting to take pictures of you and look at you and scream at you and all that stuff.
Yeah. I saw literally a girl on TikTok who was like followed around like F1 drivers and got multiple pictures. I forget what her caption was, but something like following around F1 drivers in Australia, Melbourne, whatever. And the top comment was literally stalking, but making it a TikTok. And the girl responded and said, "Ha ha ha, yeah. That's you shouldn't be laughing. You're a weirdo."
No, and there's always that like, what if this is the only chance that I can meet a Formula One driver? Guess what? Not meant to be then.
Hey, if your only chance is stalking them and standing outside their hotel, no.
Yeah, it's literally what did you say? It was giving 2014 One Direction.
It's giving 2014 One Direction. Also,
like, it's weird.
That's bad. Melbourne has the Melbourne Walk that drivers went to multiple days. They have one of the most accessible places to meet the drivers in an actual setting where you're supposed to. Mm-hmm. Why are you guys being assholes and stalking them and standing outside their hotels?
Yeah. I mean, like, we are huge Formula One fans. We love Formula One. We love the drivers. I would love to meet a driver, but am I going to figure out where their hotel is and wait outside and scream at their windows to take a picture with me? Like, absolutely not. That's psychotic.
I remember One Direction literally came to my city when they were on tour in like 2012, and the hotel got leaked, and my friend and I literally just got our driver's license. Okay, so it was like 2014 then. And we were like, should we? And we're like, no, we can't do that. That's weird. Like,
it's weird.
Being like a 16-year-old, I can realize that. Like, come on.
Yeah. It's just, it's again, they give us so much of their lives, and they're just athletes. Like,
literally.
Like, I mean, that doesn't happen with other sports. Like, sure, you'll have, like, people, you run into Joe Burrow in public, like, okay, like, yeah, I'm going to ask for a picture, but, like, you're not going to, like, go and, I don't see people waiting outside of the Bengals football team's hotel rooms begging to get pictures and camping out overnight to try to get a glimpse of them. Like, give them a break, man.
Please. Like,
it's getting crazy intense, and that's like something that, like, with like all of these new fans joining Formula One, like, it's definitely a new thing that the drivers are having to deal with. Like, they were used to having very passionate and very hardcore fans before this. Like, nothing's changed there, but it's definitely getting this, along with having just more like social media, and their fans are newer fans and younger fans that are used to being pretty much online all the time, on Twitter, on Instagram, like on TikTok, to where news travels quicker, and they have so much more visibility into these drivers' lives, where 10, 20 years ago, nothing like that would happen. There's no way you'd even know which hotel they were staying at.
It's
just crazy that the drivers are having to deal with that, along with just, again, we know that as soon as you step into the Formula One paddock, like, they are watched. We talked about that already. But now they're also on edge, even at their own hotel. Like,
yeah, that's very
it's
unfortunate.
just, it's crazy to me.
It's going to get to a point where, like, they're not stopping anymore, no matter what. For people,
they're not going to want to. And honestly,
over it
it's
and frustrated.
dangerous.
Yeah, it's so dangerous. Do you see that video of the fan who met Max, who was so nice about it?
Yeah.
That was really sweet. Nice. Like, she literally was, like, just met him, like, randomly, not out stalking him outside his hotel, and was like, Max, like, do you care if we get a picture? Like, he was like, yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah.
Like, if you're just nice and kind about it and not being a fucking weirdo, there is a good chance that they will have a spare moment to get a picture with you.
Yeah, versus, like, another thing where I think Charles was walking somewhere, and this girl literally walks up to him and puts her arm through his arm and was, like, jerking him to take a picture. It was like,
I hated
get the fuck off of him.
Yeah. None of those.
Like, have some shame, first of all.
Actually, are you not embarrassed?
Yeah, like...
And, like, now you're all over the internet looking like a fool.
No, let's bring back being embarrassed about our actions. Like, it's not okay.
Let's bring back throwing tomatoes at people.
Yeah, exactly. No, so that, yeah, I think that we could talk a lot about this. Again, coming from us two, coming from the One Direction fandom and seeing it.
Being in multiple fandoms, yeah.
It's ridiculous, but
it's
yeah,
insane.
Just be respectful and respect people's privacy, and you can be a fan without being a freaking weirdo. It's not that hard.
Also, it doesn't make you a better fan to have a picture with a driver or an autograph with a driver. So
yeah,
I know it could feel like that for sure, and I would be so excited, but
like,
you've got to respect them.
Say this, if I would love to have a picture with some of the drivers.
Yeah,
but like, there's literally events set up for you to get videos and pictures with the drivers. Like, they do everything they can to make the drivers, again, very accessible to the fans already. Like, you don't need to take more than that. Yeah. So, yeah, we could talk on and on about that, but...
One last thing before the race. Lando was on Chicken Shop date.
He was.
I was so excited for it. I thought it was so good.
I love all of Amelia's, like, Chicken Shop dates. I watch all of them.
Me too.
But, like, I was funny, like, I was watching it, I couldn't stop smiling, like, I was like, oh my god, like, it's just so cute. Yeah. And it's really, like, honestly, it's so good for McLaren, and it's so good for even just Formula One in general, to have that, you know, like, PR. You know, people love those Chicken Shop date videos. Even, again, I have friends that don't follow Formula One, and they were like, they were talking about it as well, so.
And to everybody that's being mean, the dates are supposed to be awkward. They're supposed to be weird. That's the whole shtick of her interviews.
Yeah. People were like, it's so weird. Why is she acting like that? Like, that's the point. Like, that's the funny part. That's the gag of it. You don't get it. You get it or you don't get it. And the girls that get it, they get it.
They get it. And luckily we're one of those girls.
We're some of those girls for sure. No, I loved the Chicken Shop date. I thought it was cute. I thought their interactions afterwards were funny. Like, it was just good. It was fun, and you know, I love it when Formula One leaks out into the non-Formula One media. It's always exciting. I love when my non-Formula One friends, like, we'll see glimpses of it. It's like Formula One is one of those things that, like, you don't realize it's there until you, like, become a fan, and now I, like, see it everywhere, even outside. And, like, even my friends, since I've become a fan and I talk about it nonstop, they'll send me things that they're like, oh, I didn't even notice, or, oh, did you see this kind of thing? Like, it's just funny that it's always been there without us kind of realizing. So
it's always there. Should we get into the racing part?
I think we should get into it.
25 minutes later.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
if you came here just for the race recap, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're starting now.
We'll put in the description when the recap starts.
Real recap starts at this time frame.
A bit about quali.
What? Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's start with quali. I was about to get right into it. Yeah.
Oh well, I feel like quali a bit you could tell Max wasn't up to his usual like max speeds. And then
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching it, I was like, whoa. And then in Q3 he did something and got
Yeah.
up to
You could tell
speed,
he
got it
was
right.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. It wasn't like a regular weekend for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it, during qualifying, it's always hard because he always kind of like, in the past he's done that before where he's like been in Q1 and been
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, and then he like always kind of turns it on in Q2 and Q3. So even then, like, I wasn't extremely like thrown off by it.
Yeah.
But even in like some of the practices, like he wasn't quite where he was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be. And the last time we saw that was in Singapore last year, is the last time that he didn't win a race, where you could tell very early in the weekend slight hints of
Mm-hmm.
some discomfort with the car. But qualifying, you could definitely see that he wasn't up to where
Yeah, for
he
sure.
he should have been.
Or he normally is too.
Yeah, which he still got pole position in
Mm-hmm.
Q3. But I think that that kind of came down to strategy. I think if Carlos would have maybe done things a little bit different, he would have gotten pole for sure. And I think Carlos
Mm-hmm.
knows that as well. So
Yeah. Well, so how it started out, what, 2-3 laps in? Or
yeah,
maybe
I
it
mean,
was
not
pretty early
even
on.
really. It was pretty.
Carlos overtook Max, and I was so like, literally at first I was like, oh, that's Charles overtaking Checo or something. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, that's not. And then like our friend Ryan, he was like, what? And I was like, wait, that was. I was like, that was Carlos overtaking Max. So that's insane.
It was like the earth stood still.
No,
Like, it
I
was
was like,
like, what?
it was insane.
Because even the other times that Max hasn't been leading, it's never really been from overtaking. It's always been from maybe he pits before, like,
Mm-hmm.
the other person kind of thing. So to see like a live overtake,
That
someone
was
overtaking Max
crazy.
Verstappen, which is, it's just insane that we had to have that reaction because he's so dominant. Like, it again just
Yeah.
proves how dominant of a car Red Bull is and how dominant of a driver Max is,
Yeah.
that we were like, this is crazy, like, what? And we had another two, other than Ryan, we had two other friends here that don't watch Formula One at all, and they were like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, they're like, what are you all like freaking out about? Like,
Like, what's
one
wrong? Isn't
car
that supposed to
overtook
happen?
it. Yeah, we were like, oh my god. Definitely go check out our TikTok, because we did get a live reaction
Yeah.
of Max retiring the car. So once Carlos overtook him, then you could see like a bit of smoke coming from Max's brakes, like
And he was
his rear
significantly
brakes.
slowing.
He was slowing down a lot, and at first we didn't even know if he would make it to the pit lane, which he
Yeah.
did. But even when he pulled into a pit lane, like, it's something like, I don't know, like a huge puff of like black smoke like
Yeah.
jutted
And it
out of the
caught on
car
fire.
and then caught on fire. So it was like, actually, like, his car was like real fucked. I don't know why it happened. I don't know if we have a lot of details on what exactly happened and why that is happening, but it was interesting that the very first time that Max really had to deal with a whole bunch of like dirty air is when the car decides to completely like shit the bed. Like, that is interesting. Like, Max's poor car probably didn't even know how to deal with it. He's like, I'm not used to this.
The car's like, wait, what are we doing? What's wrong?
Exactly. So so pretty early in the race, Max does retire the car.
Mm-hmm.
Formula One fans around the world cheered. He hasn't retired the car since 2022 in Australia as well, correct?
Yeah, he hasn't DNF'd in 2 years.
And that's pretty rare. I mean, like, DNFs happen quite often. It definitely happens more so with the
Midfield
lower teams. Midfield, lower teams, but it still happens. Like, Charles is, Ferrari quite often DNFs their cars last season. It happens with Mercedes quite a bit. I don't want to say this out loud, but knock on wood, McLaren has pretty good luck. They haven't really had any issues recently.
They had some last year.
Yeah, but those were like from crashes. I mean, later in the year, maybe some early, but like
in the beginning
most of the time it's from like crashes. It's different, like with crashes versus like mechanical failures. Like, mechanical failures
wood,
are like,
by the way? Stop.
yeah.
Why are you doing that?
I just did.
Thanks.
I scared my cats. They thought someone was at the door.
Okay, well, it's worth it.
But yeah, so it was crazy that Max had to DNF the car, and it also was interesting. Like I don't want to say that like if Max's car didn't mess up, I think Carlos still had the chance to win because
I think he
Red
definitely
Bull's
did.
pace. I don't want to say that Red Bull's pace wasn't there, but I think Ferrari's pace was there matching Red Bull's, which was really crazy to think about because even then, like Checo's car didn't have any like technically didn't have any issues, and he still could not pass the McLarens or the Ferraris.
No,
which again gives me a lot of hope as a McLaren fan. I don't want to think too hard about it.
I saw something that somebody said that like Helmut and Christian were like, yeah, these issues were on us. This is a team thing. So they knew they weren't there.
Yeah. But it is always interesting to think about because we know that Red Bull doesn't do great at Singapore. And we know that Red Bull didn't do great at Australia. But it's almost like Max always has issues at Singapore and always has issues at the Australian Grand Prix. Like, I really wonder if, like, maybe Max like gets in his head this case it obviously wasn't his fault because it was the car's fault, but I do wonder if he like kind of gets in his head a little bit because it's just these two tracks always give him issues.
Yeah, I don't know if he would. I don't know. Like I feel like
yeah,
who knows?
It's like similar to how like Lando obviously is like in his head that he hasn't had a win yet. Like that's gonna be the biggest. I think it's such a hard hurdle to like pass because he just knows that like everyone is waiting for him to get his first win, so me included. I won't lie, whenever Max first DNF'd, there was a brief moment where I was like, God, this could be it for Lando. This could be the day. This could be the day.
That's one of the first things I said.
Yeah, and I just think Ferrari's pace was a little bit quicker than McLaren's, but
very quick. Lando at the end was catching Charles.
He was catching Charles, and honestly, it was if he would have pit before Charles pit, that I mean the second
they were going
pit stop
to as well.
They were planning on it, and then Charles just pulled in before him, so he didn't. If they would have done that, I think Lando would have gotten in second, and I think Oscar maybe could have gotten in third.
Yeah, maybe.
I wanted an Oscar on the podium so bad, and yes, I am very glad I did not have to do a shoey.
Yeah,
because I did on the last podcast. If you didn't listen, you should go listen. But if you didn't listen, I did tell everyone that I would do a shoey if an Australian ended up on the podium. But I didn't want to do a shoey. I didn't want to do a shoey at all. Yeah, so I'm not necessarily upset about it. I think I might do something like that. Maybe like any home race win. I'll do something, but then I'll definitely have to do it probably for Max at Zandvoort.
Yeah, for sure.
Next one is Japan, which is Yuki's home race. So if Yuki ends up on the podium, I'll come up with something.
You'll cook a full 5-course meal.
Yeah. I'll get some
dessert.
Sushi. And dessert. Yeah, no, we'll do something. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to do a shoey, but I was disappointed because Oscar was so close, and like there were at one point Oscar was in third, and then he got team orders to let Lando through, and everyone on Twitter is like, that's so unfair, blah blah. I'm like, no, it made perfect sense. Like Lando was quicker than Oscar. If they were gonna catch Charles, it was gonna be Lando catching Charles and pushing him back. So I think, and Oscar, yes, and Oscar even like after the race was like,
yeah,
no, that was the right decision. Like that's what should have happened.
Yeah. We need to talk about George Russell and his crash.
Yes. Well, touching a little bit before George Russell's crash.
I keep forgetting about Lewis. I'm sorry.
Lewis also DNF'd from the race. So 2 out of the 3 world champions on the grid did DNF from the race. So yeah, he had some engine failure. So he got taken out. So Mercedes was already down to kind of one car that they were waiting to get points for. And again, I'm a McLaren fan, and McLaren and Mercedes were kind of going back and forth the last two races. They were kind of staggered out each time. So I already like in my head was like, we just got to beat Mercedes. So once Lewis DNF'd, I was feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah.
But then in literally the last lap, it
Yeah,
was the
2
last
laps
lap
to
or
go.
second to last lap.
It was
Yeah.
like 2 laps to go.
George Russell did end up having a pretty nasty crash, a pretty scary crash.
It was terrifying.
He was obviously fine. It really wasn't horrible as far as like he didn't get hurt at all.
If he would have like not bounced off the wall and flipped over, but he bounced off the wall and then spun, and the car was on its side in the middle of the track.
And the FIA did not call a red flag.
He was screaming for a
It was
red
actually
flag.
I watched the video
so
like one
sad.
time. I couldn't watch it again. I could not, because he knew, oh my God, I just crashed. I'm right around a curb. Like no one can see me when they turn around a curb. I'm there. I'm just right there. And I just crashed. I'm sitting in the middle of the road on my side. I can't get out of my car right now. And he was just basically sitting there begging the FIA to call for a red flag. He was on the radio. He was like, red flag, please. I'm in the middle. I need a red flag. I need a red flag. And they didn't call one. They originally called a virtual safety car, and then they called a yellow flag.
A car being stopped in the middle of the track on its side, nonetheless, should be an immediate red flag. Like, Lance was right behind George, and his engineer and Lance like reacted perfectly, or else it could have gone so bad. Like,
yeah,
his engineer
the audio was also kind of scary, because his engineer was terrifying. Like, oh my God,
you could hear the
Lance
terror in his voice.
He was like, car in the middle, yellow flag. Like, he couldn't
get slow down.
Because it was so quick of like he crashed, and then Lance was right behind him. Like, he had to like react quickly, and thankfully he did, and no one hit George.
God.
But it was such a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
That once again, the FIA just kind of needs to be smarter about the things that they do.
The FIA is
like, I get why. Like, recently. I mean, I don't get why. I don't get why at all.
No.
But if it was close to the end of the race, like if they called a red flag, they had to restart all this stuff. But like, which would have kind of been insane if they did call a red flag. I wonder what would have happened, because all of the cars would have bunched up together, and then you would have had Carlos, Charles, Lando, and Oscar right there. I don't know if that would have changed the results at all, but it should have been a red flag just for safety reasons alone.
Yeah, that was very.
The reason he even got into that was he was right behind Fernando Alonso, and Fernando Alonso basically he braked early, like pretty early, and then he like braked, and then he sped up again, and then braked where he normally would for the turn. I don't necessarily think it was malicious. I don't think Fernando did it on purpose. Some people do, but
George said something where he was like, I don't blame him.
Right. And it really probably was just genuinely like a mistake that he made, but it could have been a very costly mistake if things turned out differently. But he did end up getting a 20-second penalty, which did kind of knock him down a bit from where he originally ended. So as far as points goes, Ferrari did great. They got a 1-2.
Yeah.
Carlos in first, Charles in second. Lando came in third. Oscar came in fourth. So both Ferrari and McLaren made out with quite a bit of points.
Yeah.
McLaren really jumped up. They're still in third, but they have a good gap behind them from Aston Martin, who's in fourth, and then Mercedes, who's in fifth. Which is good for Mercedes to have a double DNF and still be in fifth, honestly, only after the third race. But it was definitely scary for the George situation.
Yeah, it was terrifying. We also have some rumors, speculation going on in RB. Yeah. So after the race, I also saw more today. After the race, everybody was like, "Oh my god, Yuki and Daniel unfollowed each other on Instagram, like so close after the race." I don't know if like it could have happened previously, but then we figured
Right.
out Daniel never followed Yuki, so Yuki just went in and unfollowed Daniel, and
Yuki was like
then
waiting, and he was like, you know what?
time to
I'm
go.
just gonna unfollow him back.
But after the race, in an interview with Laura Winter and Jack Doan, well, once again, always pronounce. Yuki was like, yeah, they were talking about how like the next race is Yuki's home race and whatever. He's like, yeah, FP1 in Japan should be fun, and well, maybe I shouldn't say that. And then Laura was like, oh, okay. He's like, there should be fun. And Laura was like, okay. And then Jack was like, huh? And then I didn't see this, but I saw somebody tweet it. So once again, rumor and speculation. Apparently, Nico Hulkenberg said to Jack, I'll see you on the track next year. Once again, I don't know if that's true.
That would be. I am so like. We had again our friend Ryan watch the race with us, and he's pretty knowledgeable about motorsport. He's watched it much longer than we have. So I was kind of asking him about like who he thinks like is going to be in seats next year, and who he thinks aren't going to be in seats next year. Mm-hmm. Interesting that Nico Hulkenberg said, "I'll see you on the track." I wonder.
But also, I never saw the video, so like, take this
again. Yeah, this could all be speculation, but it is. I am interested to see like what would come from that, because is he a reserve driver for
Alpine?
So like I wonder, there's just so much that could happen,
so much,
because
we could get into so much
speculation, shuffling, and I feel like we accidentally end up talking about like the 2025 lineup on every single episode, because it's gonna be like completely different. Like it has to be like, kind of touching again some possible trickle effect from this race or this weekend's races. People are again kind of doubling down on Carlos to Red Bull because he performed so well, and because Mercedes didn't perform well at all, had so many issues, had so many technical issues, that people are kind of wondering, like, at least at the beginning of the season, whenever Lewis announced he was going to Ferrari, like Carlos, if he wants to have a spot on an upper team, he would look at Red Bull, he would look at Mercedes. At this point, like, if he wants to be on a winning team, he really just needs to kind of look at the Red Bull seat, the second seat next to Max. Because again, he performed great only 10 days after getting major surgery.
I think it was 16, but yes.
16?
Like 16 or 14, yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. But not long after getting major surgery, and then to perform as well as he did versus Checo, who performed not great at all. Again, the car had issues.
It wasn't bad, but like still, like Carlos did so much better.
Yeah, and I think he did really good in his first race as well, and he obviously missed a chance on a second race. I think that if he would have raced in the second race, I think he would definitely be above Charles in the driver's standings.
Yeah, he definitely would be.
And I think he would be pretty close to Max.
He'd be so close to Max right now.
After this weekend, like, it's going to be interesting. I think it's actually really interesting.
I'm so excited.
And also Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari is so close to Red Bull, like not far off at all. Yeah. That if both Carlos and Charles consistently do good, despite Max, if he wins every race from here until the rest of the year, but if Charles and Carlos are both doing good and performing better than Checo, like there's a chance that Ferrari could take home the Constructors' Cup, no problem. Yeah. So that's really super interesting.
We need to talk about how the two... Well, first of all, every race that Carlos has won, George has crashed out of. Yeah. And what's the deal with that? Last year, the race that Carlos won and George crashed out of was right before Suzuka.
That is true. The parallels are paralleling.
And we got a double McLaren podium in Suzuka last year.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I always feel good going into Suzuka.
I said it earlier this week.
But like, if McLaren can come and dominate like they did last year, and if Red Bull still has issues, coming from if they continue having those issues,
Lando's gonna win in Suzuka.
I mean, let's go on record here and say it, because if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't,
I said
we
it
look
earlier
like
this
fools,
week.
But
actually, I said it earlier before Red Bull was having trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they always, they're going to go in feeling confident just because of how well they did last year, and their car. They both, Oscar and Lando, felt after the post race interviews were like, the car feels really good right now. It feels like we're catching up. There's always room for bringing some minor improvements. It would just be.
One of them said, I think it might have been Lando, like, wins are coming. Like, also, Lando was so happy. Oh my god, he was so happy.
No, it was really good. You could tell, because I don't think they expected to be as competitive as they were at the beginning of the weekend, and so to come out with a podium, and with Oscar being in fourth, like, that is great points for McLaren. Yeah, and also, like, Sky Sports did like a little segment where they hooked Oscar up to a lie detector test, and they were asking him questions. I just watched that too. And they asked him, they're like, "Are you confident that you're going to win a race this year?" And he said yes, which was true. And they said, "Do you feel like you have the car that will get you that race win?" And he said yes, and that was also true.
That got me so excited.
I was like, what do they know that we don't? Because right now.
No, like, oh my gosh, I just can't. This is going to be a good season.
And if it happens, if one of them happen to get their first race when we're in Miami, I won't be mad. I mean, I obviously want it to happen before that, if they could get their first one, McLaren first race win in Suzuka. I will be very pleased with that. But I wouldn't be mad to have Lando's first win in Miami as well.
That'd be so fun.
Be so crazy. But it's also interesting, the Australian Grand Prix, like, both 2022 and 2023 were so chaotic that you knew something crazy was going to happen. But even the last two races, the first race is always, normally pretty chaotic because it's the first race. People are checking, like, it's the first time they're really putting their cars to the limit, and nothing happened. And then the second race is always, Saudi Arabia is always crazy because it's such a fast pace. It's like such a quick track that, like, shit always happens there. Nothing happened. So I, like, despite going into the Australian Grand Prix being like, oh, the last two races were so chaotic, it's gonna be chaotic again. Not even on, like, any actual, like, evidence, just because of, like, vibes,
Yeah.
I was like, in my head, I was like, it's gonna be chaotic, but, like, I was also like, but we said that about the last two races and nothing happened. It's probably gonna be a pretty boring race. And then for Max to DNF in the first couple of laps, I was like, oh, this is actually chaotic. Like, just so much stuff happened, and it was a good race. It was a good race to watch.
It was a good race to watch. There were points that were, like, a little boring. I was kind of expecting more action and overtakes.
Yeah. There weren't a lot of overtakes. A lot of the overtakes came from like pitting and, like, undercutting and stuff.
Like, I feel like I could be so wrong, but, like, for like the only overtake we saw was K-Mag overtaking Alex, which I can't get into that again. But also, can we talk about Haas double points?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I am definitely, I think, not the most, but I am for sure interested to see who's going to be driving for Haas next year. Because they obviously have Ollie Bierman. If Ollie does not have a seat next year, something's broken in the system.
Yeah.
And obviously it makes sense for that to be with Haas. I think that they will bring in Ollie, and if Kevin, if that rumor is correct, maybe it's going to be Ollie and Nico. But if that rumor's not correct, I don't know if they would keep Nico or Kevin. But then again, they got double points this week, so maybe depending on how they do the next couple of races, it could be something. But it's, silly season happens, but like we're gonna start seeing things pretty early this year, I think, because there's so much shifting that's gonna have to happen. Is they're gonna have to start earlier than they normally would.
Well, and Toto Wolff came out and said that they're going to need in the next couple of weeks to make their pick on who their second driver is going to be next year. And obviously, we're not going to hear about it right away, but Mercedes is making that decision soon.
Yeah, and I do wonder, especially because they're not doing as good as they normally are, if that's going to want them to, if that's going to make them more likely to sign Kimi Antonelli, who's an F2 as a rookie. I don't know if it's going to make it more likely because they aren't really going to have to compete between like Carlos wanting to move there, or Max, wanting to move there, or Checo wanting to move there. Like, maybe it's more likely for them to sign Kimi because of that, or maybe it's less likely for them to sign him because they're like, we can't really afford to like take a chance on a rookie right now. We need a veteran driver as we're developing the car, because you can't, time and time again, it's proven you cannot build your car back up and develop a car at the same time that you're taking a chance on a rookie. You have to do those different years. It's just not going to work otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of Kimi, Williams. Should we talk about F2?
Yeah, let's get into it.
I watched the F2 sprint race. Do we want to talk about a chaotic race? That was a chaotic race.
Like, literally, if you were to watch any, like, 15 seconds of F2, watch the first 15 seconds of the Formula 2 sprint race. Like, I don't even understand like how exactly it happened, but it was literally like one of the cars just kind of went through and just like bowling balled down a bunch of cars.
Yeah. Okay, so we're still a little new to F2, so we don't know everybody's names and cars and numbers yet. But one of the cars, kind of from basically the second row, came up in the middle of the two front row cars to try and get ahead, and then just shoved two, I think, other cars into the wall right at pit lane, and there was a driver starting in pit lane, so he was ready to go, and then all of a sudden he just sees a big crash in front of him.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I literally like it just had kind of popped on after like qualifying post debrief, and I wasn't really paying attention, and then all of a sudden I look up and I'm like seeing these cars crash, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this.
You're like, I'm hooked.
I'll tune in. Yeah, so I'm now real into F1. Zane Maloney is my number one.
Zane Maloney. Yeah, I definitely have like favorites for F2. I watched qualifying for F2, but I didn't watch, other than I watched clips from the sprint race, but I didn't watch the feature race either.
Yeah.
But I definitely have some favorites. Like, obviously, Ollie Bierman is great.
Yeah,
I like Victor Martin, but he's been kind of having some bad luck recently in F2. I like Enzo Fittipaldi.
You love the Fittipaldi
because I love
family.
His brother mainly. I love the Fittipaldi family. He had a pretty sucky weekend as well, but he's not doing horrible in the overall standings. I think he's like in 6th for F2 right now.
Yeah.
But he had a pretty bad weekend. But there's just so much talent in F2 right now. Like, it's not necessarily that there's one guy that's dominating in F2, which again makes it so different, from Formula 1, because like Formula 1, it's a rare occasion to not see Max winning. Not even just to not see Max in the top 3, but to not see Max winning is a rare occasion. With F2 and same with IndyCar, it's a closer like gap in between all of the cars, to where you really don't know what to expect or who to expect on the podium, really, because it's just much more exciting. Not exciting to watch, because I definitely still prefer to watch Formula 1, but it's a different type of excitement to watch a Formula 2 race.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. That was the first one I'd watched. Well,
yeah.
Talk about the standings too for F2 real quick.
Yeah.
So for the sprint race, Isaac I don't want to say his name wrong. Isaac Hajar. Is that how you say it? Okay, yeah.
I think so.
He won, but then he got grid penalties and was not in first place anymore. So he got that taken away from him, very unfortunately. But then he luckily came back and won the feature race. So that was awesome for him.
Nice.
He got a bit of a redemption.
So who technically won the sprint race then?
I have it right here. Roman Stenk. I'm gonna say that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And the standings aren't too bad now. Oh, also, in the feature race, Kimi did unfortunately crash out, and that was kind of sad to see. He took someone with him too.
Whoopsies.
Whoops. He did really good in the feature race though. He got.
Oh, you said the feature race. You crashed out. He crashed out in the sprint race.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, he crashed out in the sprint race, but he got 4th in the feature race.
Yeah,
so,
I do. I definitely am always interested. Like when I check F2 standings, I always check for Kimi because he's one of those that like he's either gonna rise to the occasion and kind of prove all of the talk that people say about him, like prove that he is a really talented driver and he's, you know, people say he's the next Max Verstappen, you know, all that. But I mean, they've said that about people before, and there's always had that pressure, and there's always been maybe they don't live up to the hype, but he's definitely a great driver. I don't know how he does consistently. Like his consistency isn't quite there
this year.
Which again is something that you get with more experience.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. What I wonder where Toto's head is, as far as like, is he gonna take this rookie driver who isn't the most consistent, but when he does perform, he performs really well. Are they going to bring him in and let him do it? I wonder if maybe they'll put him in for one of the free practices, like when they have rookies
they definitely will
drive. And I think I wonder why more teams don't do that earlier.
There has to be like a reason, and it kind of makes sense in my head, but I can't think of like why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I get why
make
last
sure the drivers
year
have that practice.
I get why last year they wouldn't do that because like people pretty much knew that everyone's contracts were extended out. Like there wasn't a huge amount of like, oh, is someone going to take the seat kind of thing. But like you would think that like Toto would want to see Kimi in a Formula One car earlier rather than later to see if he's good enough for them to sign him or if he can't handle it.
That's a good point. But then also,
I don't know.
Maybe they want to keep those drivers who are currently driving like in their cars come for that practice because they crash in FP1 and they're now costing them money and having to fix these cars real quick for the main drivers.
But at least they'd probably have a third car.
Fingers crossed they would.
I mean, after Williams' mistake, you know that all the other teams are like, we got to bring that third one. Yeah.
No, they probably actually already had it because who the hell wouldn't have an extra chassis?
Who wouldn't have one? Yeah. But
I just thought of something and I forget what I was going to say. Oh, I'm wondering though, like, if Fred would do it though for Mercedes.
No, I did think about that as well. But also, like, so like the rule is that they have to put a rookie in the car, and that rule I'm pretty sure started last year. They have to put a rookie in the car for one session. But would they be able to put in the same rookie that they put in the year before? Or do they have to use a new rookie?
It's something about starting in an actual race. So,
like they couldn't use Liam, but they could use like, or they couldn't use Ollie either. Do you think Ferrari will do Arthur?
Stop it. They could. Stop.
That'd be so cute. Oh, and they do it for Carlos so that Arthur and Charles are driving together in free practice.
Stop talking. Stop talking.
Yeah, I would. I don't care where they are in the world. Normally, I don't wake up early or wake up in the middle of the night for the free practices. I'll do it for qualifying, but I would wake up for that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a high chance though it could be Robert for Ferrari.
Yeah, that's true.
Schwartzman.
I mean, but like, can't you just
You also have to
Arthur
do 2
just for fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for Aston
yeah.
Martin, Felipe did all of last year. Felipe did all of the preseason testing, but since he didn't start in an actual race, he was still considered a rookie and did the rookie testing in Abu Dhabi. Nope. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I was just making sure I had the right location.
Yeah. No, that'll be interesting to see once those kind of things start happening. Last year it did happen definitely farther or later in the season, especially once I think the standings were pretty much secure.
Set. Yeah.
Yeah. So other than Ferrari and Mercedes, but and then moving on to IndyCar. IndyCar had a race today as well. This is a special race. It's not a race for any points. It was a race just for money, which shout out to McKenna on TikTok. She did educate me quite a bit. It's the very first race not for points in IndyCar since 2008.
Yeah.
It's always interesting. But it is called the Thermal Club $1 million challenge.
Yeah. And the Thermal Club is basically like a race car country club. So like how
so like instead of having golf
country club, how you pay money and you're like a member there. That's what the Thermal Club is, but for like race cars. So like billionaires and rich people pay a membership there, and then they bring their cars and drive it around.
I wonder if Lance ever drove around the Thermal Club. Do you think?
So, I think Pato has before. Was it? I was listening to somebody talk about it, and I think it might have been Pato.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the race was good. Alex Palou definitely just dominated the whole.
God, he deserved that
the whole thing. He deserved that win.
Yeah.
And I know Felix did really good in the first heat. It was a different structure than normal, but Felix was doing really good. Pato unfortunately did not make it to the main race because he didn't win in his heat, or he didn't get in the top 6 in his heat, which was disappointing. But Alexander Rossi did for Arrow McLaren. He was the only Arrow McLaren to make it there. Pierto Fittipaldi also made it. I always have a special place in my heart for Pierto. Unfortunately, he did disqualify from the race.
Yeah. Well, okay, so also how the race worked was they did practice sessions throughout the weekend, and they had 2 different groups, basically a shootout, kind of like the sprint shootout in Formula 1, and the top 6 finishers got to move on to the main race. I forget the start,
which was weirdly broken up into 2. Like there was a halftime for it.
Yeah. So
which was so bizarre, but also I think it was kind of interesting because I kind of liked it because it had like all of the action, like a lot of the overtaking, all the stuff happens at the beginning, like really like when you start the race. And so the fact that they had 2 different starts, like even if you were like maybe a couple of places back, but once halftime hits, it smushed all the cars back together again. And basically you had that almost like a red flag restart there where it gave you another opportunity to kind of like overtake someone quickly at the beginning of the race.
That was interesting. I'm going to be honest, I would have it just been a regular race. Like,
without the heats.
For sure, but like,
I
don't know. I get that he didn't make it, but like, I wanted to see Callum and Pato racing. Like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people saying that too. They would have just rather had a regular race.
Yeah, which it's crazy. The next IndyCar race isn't for like another month.
Yeah, it's like mid-April.
And there's not a Formula 1 race next weekend. The next one isn't for another two weeks when they go to Japan. So it's going to be a pretty boring week next year as far as motorsport. Yes, God, yeah, next week. I wonder. I need to look to see if there's any like WEC races next week.
You know, right now, I have all of the schedules saved.
Thank goodness for that. We really need to make, like, I need to honestly, like, buy a calendar and just put, like, every motorsport race, like, in the calendar.
I put them on my, like, regular calendar. My, like,
Yeah.
dry erase one. No, the next WEC race isn't until April 21st, which I believe that's the same weekend as the IndyCar race.
And where are they going to be for IndyCar? In California?
Yeah, I think that's Long Beach.
Still? I think so, too. Should we go?
Oh, no, wait. Oh, yeah, it is Long Beach. No, that's the week before Miami.
Yeah, I know. we unfortunately, like, make plans to go to every race. We have some plans to go to Mid-Ohio.
That'll be fun.
Which we're excited about. We're going to IndyCar, or Indy 500, and then Miami so far. And then we want to get to Austin as well.
Yeah, we'll get Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to do Vegas, too, just because I love Vegas in itself.
Yeah. I've never been.
I thought it was so much fun. Like, I had a blast.
Want to go.
I would have stayed longer, too. I think everybody in my group was
really?
like, let's go home. And I was like, I'm having fun.
I'm having a great time.
No, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I don't know. We'll have to see about our second half after summer break.
Yeah, for sure. I think Coda's the priority there, but...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because they're so close together, it's just hard.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Like, I feel like taking off time for work and stuff. Unless we literally were chaotic and flew out to Vegas for one night. Which I thought about it last year. We
almost did. We literally almost did. So
I was like,
that would actually be kind of a fun adventure.
I think I didn't have to work that Friday or something. And I was like, should I just buy a plane ticket right now? And honestly, they weren't that expensive.
The plane tickets weren't expensive at all. The tickets were expensive.
Yeah, which I got to do something about that this year.
Yeah. But I think that's all the updates we had.
Yeah. Long episode.
Long episode. A lot of information this episode, but a lot happened.
Yeah, a ton happened.
I am interested to see if anything, any news or drama hits this week with it not being a race weekend. Non-race weekends are always a little bit more calm as far as
the weekend
F1 news.
Boring.
Yeah, the week before this was boring. So, it could be that next week's episode is us kind of answering some more fun questions and maybe deep diving. Maybe we'll deep dive a little bit into Formula 2.
Yeah, actually.
Some more information there. Do some research on it.
Good call.
I think that could be good. So make sure you follow us on all social media because even if we don't know what drama is going to happen. What did we miss?
Our champagne pops and our champagne problems.
Oh my god. I can't believe we almost forgot them.
Oh my gosh.
We got to do those.
Yeah, we have got to do them.
Okay.
Champagne pop. Let's start with it.
Champagne pop? We'll start with it. So, champagne pop, I'm giving to Carlos. One, he won the race. Yeah. Easy. But the fact that he won the race with so recently having surgery, with all of the drama that happened at the beginning of the year, with him not even having a seat for next year, I'm giving him a huge champagne pop for that.
I love that. I agree. Carlos deserves a champagne pop. I'm going to shock everybody here and give my champagne pop to K-Mag.
Whoa. That's
after giving him
insane.
A champagne problem 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited for him to have scored a point.
No, it is good.
Yeah, sure, he scored some points because of some DNFs and a crash. But you know what? I'm happy for him.
Yeah, it is good. Double points for Haas. Champagne pop for that.
Champagne pop for that.
Yep. Champagne problem.
I think we all can agree.
Yeah, freaking Williams. Huge champagne problem. Yeah. I think another champagne problem I'll give out is to Max for DNFing. But also because...
It wasn't his fault, though.
It wasn't his fault. But it was just really sad that it was Penelope's first race weekend, and she didn't even get to see him win. Like, he wins every other race. Maybe she should come to more races.
Stop. You can't say that.
Yeah, I can't call like a 7-year-old like a bad luck charm. Like, that's just too mean. But like,
Oh my
the
god,
pattern is started. We'll see if it happens
Woo.
again.
Once is a
But-
coincidence.
Yeah. But so champagne problem to that, as well as who's surprised? An honorary
Sauber.
mention of a champagne problem to Sauber's mechanics and pit crew.
Mm-hmm.
What did you say before the episode started? You said it was the sticky nuts.
I think I'm quoting one of the commentators.
It's just funny.
It's so funny. Sticky nuts.
Sauber's sticky nuts.
Sauber's sticky nuts.
They once again had they actually had two this time.
Yeah.
For both Zhou and Valtteri had really long pit stops. And yeah, the first week it was Valtteri, the second week it was Zhou, and then, or the second race it was Zhou, and then the third race it was both of them. Like, they need to figure that out.
Yeah, what is going on?
It's embarrassing.
It's really bad.
And the worse that they do, the scarier it is for me to think of Carlos going there, waiting for Audi to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he were to join Stake, I never know what to call him. Stake, Kick. So I call him something different every time, I feel like.
I think I've committed to Sauber.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like that's what I hear a lot of the commentators say.
Yeah. But if Carlos were to go there, because they're eventually going to turn into Audi, it's going to be a rough year for him. I think he'll get really frustrated. I don't know if he wants to do that. I think I want him to go to Red Bull. So
I'm fully, and I have been on the Carlos to Red Bull train for so long. Not to say I started it, because I didn't, but I've been one of the beginners.
In fact, I specifically remember the very first episode we did, the emergency episode we filmed the day that the news dropped that Lewis was going. You said Carlos to Red Bull. I also want to point out something that before any of that even happened, before the news broke about Lewis going to Ferrari, we did make our 2024 predictions, and I did say that Carlos was going to have a dominant year. You did. When Lewis moved to Ferrari, I got a little scared because I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is it's gonna cause issues. Like, he's not gonna." He's having a dominant year so far, despite being out one of the races. I did say that Carlos would be having more success than Charles, which hasn't happened yet. But I think if Carlos keeps it up, I think Charles should be a little nervous.
Yeah.
So.
Look at us.
But all in all, it was a great race weekend.
Yeah, it was a great race weekend.
A lot to do. Formula 1, Formula 2, IndyCar. Enjoyed it all. I wish Formula 1 Academy was racing. They're not racing again until Miami. Is Formula 2 going to be at COTA?
Good question. I don't know.
I would love to see a Formula 2 race, so I hope they're at COTA.
They don't make this easy. No.
Formula 2 is not at COTA either?
Mm-mm.
Are they at Vegas? I just want to see a Formula 2 race. They're not anywhere in America?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Should we buy passports?
Should we go to the Canadian Grand Prix? Are they in Canada?
No.
Oh my gosh, are they in Mexico?
No.
What the hell?
Next is Imola. So the next F2 race isn't until after Miami, which that kind of makes sense. Imola, Monaco, Barcelona, Austria, Silverstone, Budapest, Belgium, Monza, Baku, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi.
I forget, is Barcelona is there for this year and next year, and then Madrid takes over in 26, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We should go to the Barcelona Grand Prix next year.
No, we're going to the Australian Grand Prix next year.
Let's do both.
Let's quit our jobs. Just follow Formula
1. If you all could give us some likes and some comments so that we can follow Formula 1 around the world.
Please.
That would be great, actually.
Actually, seriously, while we're here, like, subscribe, and follow us.
Please.
If we have made you giggle one time throughout this, or if you thought, ooh, good point, even a little bit, you are legally obligated to subscribe and follow us.
Subscribe and follow.
Yeah.
Go follow us on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
Go follow us on Instagram. If you want to follow us on Twitter, fair enough. We don't post on there that much. But definitely follow us on TikTok and Instagram for the most content.
Yeah.
And tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Share this with your friends. Send this right now. Go down, share, send it in a text message to 3 of your friends that you know that likes Formula One.
I bet you don't have 3 friends you can send this to. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, you probably aren't even that popular.
Stop.
You probably don't even have 3 friends.
Stop, we can't be that mean.
I bet you can't send this to 3 friends.
It's like those chain emails we used to get in 4th grade. If you don't
send
forward
to 3
this.
friends or you'll have bad luck for 10 years.
You heard it here
Are you going to risk it? You really want to risk it?
Are you going to risk it?
I don't think so.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening and watching along with us for the Australian Grand Prix race recap, and we will see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks for watching.
Bye.